But what if we celebrated our failures? What if we celebrated going after the things we wanted to go after? And if they failed, we're like, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And that just means it wasn't the right time or space, or I needed to learn this lesson. Look at this thing I learned. I've grown so much. I faced my fears. I came out the other side. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I still have a pulse. Like, when you do that, the power that I feel after doing that, perceivably failing and still like being here and being excited, I'm like, okay, well, nothing can stop me now, because worst case, again, quotes, air quotes here, worst case scenario happened and I'm still here. I'm still here, not only live, but just so excited to talk about these things with all of you. Welcome to Alignment Adventures. This is a podcast where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling, aligning, and present life. I'm your host, Lindsay Tanner, and I am so grateful that you are here. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Adventures. I am so grateful and so happy that you are here with me today. It feels so good to come on here and just talk to you guys, like catch up and tell you what's been going on. And there's a lot going on. Some things I can tell you today and some things I cannot. But I do want to say before I get started, I'm sitting here at my desk. I have my window open. I know where a lot of people are listening, where you're at, you're getting into spring, into warmer weather. So this is just a reminder to like open your windows if you can, feel that fresh air, that breeze. We went on a walk this morning and it was so brisk and it felt so good. Where I'm at, we're getting into like really hot season. I mean, not quite yet, but we're starting to get that way. When it warms up in Arizona, I'm always kind of like, no, I'm not ready. But I know for a lot of you, when it warms up, it is so exciting. Spring can be such an exciting time as the seasons change, as we're getting out of dark, gloomy, cold winter, which has its own beauty in its own way. But as you get into fresh spring, and there's so much symbolism with that and so much we can leverage with the season. As you guys are listening to this, I think it's the week before the spring equinox, which you guys know I'm definitely going to do a yoga flow for the spring equinox. And I just find it so interesting researching how we can leverage the cycles of the year, depending on where you're at. Again, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll be in the autumn equinox, which is also really fun because I love fall. So just depends. I encourage you to research it if you're curious, but that's where I'm at. I'm sitting at my desk feeling the beautiful breeze, the fresh air, smelling the smells, listening to the sounds, just being really mindful as I sit here. And honestly, that's what it's about. So many of the concepts with living in alignment, we want to overcomplicate, but it's just about finding the little things, slowing down, breathing, tuning back in, and just showing gratitude for the beauty that is around you. Another thing I want to say before we get into today's topic is I actually already recorded this episode and I thought I saved it, but I came back to edit it and I don't know where the file went. So I'm taking that as a sign that I needed to re-record it. So if that ever happens to you, I know it can be super frustrating when technology does weird things or doesn't work the way we expect it to. But the way I choose to see those moments is it's happening for my highest good. Maybe my energy is better today. Maybe I think of more things to say today. Maybe my message is clear today. Who knows? But I'm going to trust the universe, trust my guidance that today was the day I needed to record this. And it's the day before the episode is being released. It's so funny. I used to be quite ahead on episodes and now I'm not, and that's okay. I'm not building any stories around it. Sometimes I think they're even better when they're like freshly baked, freshly recorded for you all. And you may be wondering, like, when do I even record these? Because that would be something I would be interested in, especially this weekend. Steven's gone, so I am solo parenting. Let me just say I really tried to leverage nap times, and I'm not always productive with nap times. Like, yes, sometimes I'm working on podcast stuff or stuff for my business, and sometimes I'm watching a YouTube video. Sometimes I am on my phone. I am very mindful about scrolling. I really try to not mindfully scroll. Like when I'm on social media, I'm very conscious and aware of what I'm doing, or I try to be as much as I can. So it's just about finding balance. It's about finding those pockets of time to do the things that align with you and not putting your worth in your productivity. Like that's not even necessarily my topic for today, but always connects back to our worth and living in alignment. Our society subconsciously and consciously puts so much worth and productivity in to-do lists, and that's not where your worth lies. Yes, it's beautiful when you take action on things that you love and you're passionate about. That is such a beautiful thing that should be celebrated, but you don't have to be doing all the time. Actually, it's even more beneficial to slow down so you can tune back in, hear your internal guidance, and move from there. So those are just some tangents before I want to get into today's topic, but I hope those were useful for you all. So today I want to talk about something that feels very vulnerable and raw, and I always try to bring those things to you naturally. Like I, try to the best of my ability to be vulnerable and open and honest with you all, and I hope you can feel that with each episode, but this one just feels extra, just like cringy or whatever, but it's such an important message to share with you all. So I'm going to start from the beginning. And let's talk about the class that I decided to teach that I was so excited about, and I'm still so excited about. It was an idea that I've had really probably even before I started the podcast. I had this idea of like teaching people the things that bring me so much joy, like getting back to the basics. And this idea has really been fed through the podcast, because as I talk to people, as I dive into these topics myself, as I'm on this adventure, as I'm exploring these things on my own, I realize it truly is the simple habits that we need to get back to, or don't need to. I always am hesitant to say need or should. You don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. You are a sovereign, independent person. You have free will, which is beautiful. But what I've noticed, the habits that truly help us be present and feel aligned and fulfill us to our core, to our soul, are the small habits. And it's just rewiring the way we function, because there's a lot of overlying things happening. So unless you really like bring awareness and your openness and curiosity to things, a lot of times we just go through the motions of our society, and then we like check all these things off our life to-do list, and then we wonder why we're still not happy. Like I know so many people that get in that scenario, and that's why I do the work I do. So anyways, I've had this idea for a class for a long time, and I finally was like, Lindsay, this is the time you just need to go after it. You need to do it. It feels so scary. It did. It felt so scary to do it, but it also felt so aligned. And I kept getting that nudge from my internal guidance. So I did it. I did the dang thing, as I said. Side note, I've had so many people tell me they started saying dang now after listening to the podcast. I didn't realize how much I said that. Maybe it's the teacher in me not wanting to cuss, or the mom in me. I don't know. Anywho, I did the dang thing and I created the course, and it felt so good and so scary. Like I felt like I was going through what some people call the dark night of the soul. And what they mean by that is like part of your ego, or your ego feels like it's dying, because you're doing something that is so scary to the mind. Like it feels like if you did it, you could possibly die. Now, rationally, that is not true, right? Me creating this class wasn't putting my life in danger, but it felt that way to the mind. Like, oh, you're really going to put yourself out there like this? Like what, worst case scenario, what if no one signs up? Like, what if no one signs up? That's going to be so embarrassing, blah, 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 blah. All these things can happen. Like the mind just wants to protect you, right? We've talked about that many, many times. So going through this process was terrifying. Like I remember the month of February, really, I just felt every day like I had to kind of pump myself up. Like I'm doing the dang thing. I'm following my internal guidance. I'm just going to trust. I'm going to control what I can control. I'm building this course. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to put it out there. And if people are ready for it, they're ready for it. And if they're not, they're not. Either way, I'm okay. So I did it. I did the dang thing. And no one signed up. No one signed up. And I just want to be open and honest about that. I don't want to come on here and pretend like I had people sign up when I didn't. And you know what's interesting is I am still here. I am still very excited about all these things. I'm still so passionate about these topics, about my podcast. And I just want to share this because I know so many people either do or do not go after the things they want to for this reason, because they let those mind stories take over. So there's so many points I want to make with this. So I guess I should have said this at the beginning. Relate this to any aspect that you feel like you perceivably failed at. Like, according to my mind, this was a perceivable failure. I don't actually see it that way now, but to my mind, yes, I was like, well, that was a failure. I created this course, I advertised it, I put it all together. Actually, I didn't actually put all the parts together because it was a live course. So I had like bits and pieces together, but it kind of was built as we went along. And no one signed up. And that's okay, because what's beautiful, so beautiful about situations like this, I was just talking about this with someone, when you go after the things that are really scary, it is such a beautiful opportunity to observe your mind. Your mind becomes so obvious in those situations because it is like shitting you, shaming you, telling you all the reasons you shouldn't do it. So if for nothing else, if you could go and do something that's scary, do it just for the experience of like really discerning the voice of your mind, of your ego that is just trying to protect you. It's such a beautiful example of that. And on the other side, you can start to hear maybe that more quiet voice, that nudge, that loving, expansive feeling from your internal guidance, from your intuition that is always guiding you. Along this process, my internal guidance was just like, keep going. You're doing great. We are celebrating you. Because I do think I don't want to get into like the nuts and bolts of the internal guidance. We don't really know what it is, right? But I personally believe it's like connected to your guides and all that is. So it's like a collective of whatever. Anyways, pronouns are not important here. But my internal guidance was saying, I'm so proud of you. We're so proud of you. Keep going. You're exactly where you need to be. And this is exactly what you need. It's just, like I said, if nothing else, going after the scary things and then failing at it or succeeding at it is such a beautiful opportunity to discern what your mind thinks of that situation and what your internal guidance thinks of that situation. And you have free will. Like I said in the beginning, you have free will and you get to choose which voice you listen to and act from. I don't think, at least in this time and space, we're going to get rid of the mind and the ego. We need it to survive, right? Like we need it in many facets of our life. But you always get to choose how you see something. And this is a quote on my website from like one of my first episodes. I personally always choose to believe that things are happening for my highest good. Even the situation that I perceivably, according to society or whoever, failed at, I don't see that as a failure now. For my internal guidance, it's definitely not a failure. I know it was something I needed to go through. And I know that it helped me grow. Because what happens when you go after something that's really scary and you just face your fears? So much comes up to be seen and felt. Something I always talk about, feeling your feels. So you can change it into something else, so you can release the things that you no longer need. These are all things that I was going to talk about and teach in my course as well. It's just the irony of it all and the synchronicities of it all. It's just all connected. But going after the things that are scary and failing is such a beautiful opportunity to learn so much about what's going on internally. That sounds cliche. Like I feel like there's so many cliche quotes about failure. Just Google it if you ever need like a pickup after you fail at something. But it's so true. Like that's where we learn the things we need to learn by, quote unquote, if you could see me right now, I'm doing air quotes, failing at something, by trying something that's really scary, going after the things that are scary, facing the fear, looking at your fear dead in the eye, like eye to eye with your fear, and you keep going. And as you're doing that, you're going to feel stuff. Stories are going to come up. You're going to feel tightness in your chest. You're going to feel a lump in your throat. And you go into those things and you feel them and you see what's coming up, these stories that you have from wherever, maybe from childhood or from something that happened in your past, whatever it may be. And it's just such a beautiful opportunity to alchemize that fear into something that is useful for you to help you grow into the person, the soul, the being that you want to grow into or that you were destined to grow into. So with all that being said, yes, I perceivably failed at this course. I created it. No one signed up, but I'm looking at it as such a beautiful opportunity in my own growth and my own alignment adventure. And I just want to say, I do still believe in the things that I was going to teach and that I'm talking about on here right now so much. Like, it did not change my mind about how important these topics are. Really, I think the takeaways, like there's internal takeaways and external takeaways. Some external takeaways is like, I just don't think I have the numbers in terms of audience to be able to offer something like that right now. Who knows, maybe I'll do it again in the future. I do see myself doing it again in the future. I just don't think the message is getting to exactly all the people it needs to in this time and space. Now, hopefully it does in the future. And if it doesn't, some things are beyond my control. I can control what I can control, and I kind of have to let go of the rest. But from an external standpoint, in an honest, vulnerable standpoint, I just don't think I have the audience or am reaching the number of people to be able to offer something like that right now. And it being able to reach the people it needs to. Hopefully that makes sense. So from an external standpoint, it taught me that, time and space are such gifts sometimes. Sometimes it's just not the right time and space. Also, it kind of helped me reflect on, okay, maybe this is like too much of a commitment for some people. Maybe it's better to start back at the basics. And this class was going over the basics of alignment, but even like more basic than that. I don't know. It just gave me some other ideas, which honestly, I'm kind of like pumping the brakes. As you guys know, just talk to my husband. I get so many ideas, and I really am just going to take some time to reflect on where I want to pivot to next and what I want to do next. Obviously, I'm still going to be recording podcasts every single week because they bring me so much joy and there's so much to discuss here. And I love coming on here and sharing my heart and my soul and these topics with you all. And I'm recording at least one YouTube video a week. It's a yoga flow or a meditation, or I even did a fun video on like our travels, talking about why I love to travel. I'm having so much fun over on that platform. So again, just a simple reminder, do the things that bring you joy and just leave it at that. Control what you can control, do the things you love, and let the universe take care of the rest. Unfortunately, I do think we live in just like a society of instant gratification, right? I mean, look at the popular platforms right now. TikTok and even YouTube has, what are they called? Shorts. Like everything is super quick and fast. Like our brains are getting wired to just have that instant gratification. And sometimes it just takes time and space. So if you're going after something you love doing and you're not seeing anything happen, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it. No. Listen to any like enlightened being. I always think of like Abraham Hicks Bashar. They say, do the things you love and let go of the rest. Do them without expectation or really any insistence on what the outcome should be. Your job is just doing the things that you love and are passionate about. By the way, I'm going to see Abraham Hicks in person in April, and I am so excited. I'm going to do obviously a whole episode, maybe even multiple. We'll see, probably just one, on all the things I've learned from seeing them in person. I'm so excited for that. So I also want to bring this back to something one of my guests mentioned, and I've heard other people talk about it, and I love looking at life this way. I think this is such a useful way to look at life. But that our souls came here and we are in Earth School. We came here to learn certain things. And in my soul's journey, this was like one of those lessons that I just needed to learn. And I do feel like I've grown so much from it. And I just encourage you, anything in your life that you are either too scared to go after, or you've gone after and you felt like you failed at it, what did you learn? We are constantly either learning things that we need to, or just being in awe of the beauty around us. Like sometimes we are just on a beautiful walk in nature. We're not necessarily learning things, but we're just admiring and being grateful for the little things in our life, like being alive and seeing the leaves blow in the tree and hearing those sounds and feeling the wind and the sunshine. It truly is the little things. And that was such a interesting place to go with this situation. I was like, okay, this is one of my more advanced lessons in Earth School, and I'm sure I'm going to have more, and that's okay. And, you always get to choose how you see something. You always get to choose. So I want to leave this with, I feel kind of like a cheesy way to look at this, but again, it serves me and I hope it serves you. But what if we celebrated our failures? What if we celebrated going after the things we wanted to go after? And if they failed, we're like, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And that just means it wasn't the right time or space, or I needed to learn this lesson. Look at this thing I learned. I've grown so much. I faced my fears. I came out the other side. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I still have a pulse. Like when you do that, the power that I feel after doing that, perceivably failing and still like being here and being excited, I'm like, okay, well, nothing can stop me now, because worst case, again, quotes, air quotes here, worst case scenario happened and I'm still here. I'm still here, not only live, but just so excited to talk about these things with all of you. So I just think that's such a beautiful, beautiful way to look at perceived failures, because I still have, hopefully, God willing, universe willing, a lot of my life to live. And I'm sure I'm going to have even more failures. And I just want to continue this perspective as I continue to see those failures. And I hope this perspective serves you. And I hope this episode served you. And I hope you have some takeaways from this to implement into your life. So many different ones. Again, I haven't done homework in a while. I used to do that all the time. But just take one thing from this episode and apply it to your life. Again, that's why I wanted to create this course, because I feel like a lot of times you can listen to these episodes and be like, yes, I so resonate with what Lindsay is saying. And then you go back into your life and you're like, forget it all. I've been there. I've totally been there. So if you feel like that's you, do know I have so many free resources on my YouTube channel, on my website. Go back and listen to these podcast episodes if you need to. Start with the basics. Start with your mornings, your nighttime routine. How are you starting and ending your day? Do you have some stillness there? Can you stretch? Are you fueling your body? Are you getting outside? Back to the basics, people. Back to the basics. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Go and check out any of those videos on my YouTube. Like I said, either this week or next week, I will have a yoga flow for the spring equinox. I'm so excited for that. I even want to have like a spring equinox party, but we'll see. It's kind of a lot to ask for in this time and space. I have so many things to share with you guys coming up in terms of things we are preparing for, that are happening, that are manifesting in our life. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribed here and on the YouTube channel. I'll be sharing them in both places. And I'm just sending you all so much love. Know that even if you haven't, but if you have gone after something that was really scary and you failed, know that I am so proud of you, and that your internal guidance is incredibly proud of you and always loving you and always guiding you. And we're all in this together. We're all on this alignment journey together, and it is a journey with ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and they're all beautiful in their own way. So a cheesy way to end the episode, but that's just how I feel. That is my honest, open feelings about this situation. So share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. Share any takeaways with me over on Instagram at Lindsay with an AM Tanner. And of course, I will see you next week on Alignment Adventures.